this body, this mind, this energetical structure, this emotional structure can be made perfect. How can it be made perfect? By awakening that perfect feminine power of Kundalini. The rising of Kundalini in its first steps, already in the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, it says it involves a little bit of the shaking of the body, and Kundalini normally, as we will see, starts with awakening at the very gross level, which is the physical body. And this shaking is just the beginning of the path. And people that stay and are still shaking, I don't know what way, after 30 years, it's like you go to the train station and the train goes to start, and then it stops, and then again it goes to, and it doesn't drive. And yeah, so this little bit of shaking is, okay, we can start the road. But the shaking in time needs to be, also Patanjali mentions, also Vivekananda, the shaking in time needs to stop. And the process, the second advice here regarding Kundalini, is Kundalini needs to become more and more refined. So it awakens in the physical body, it does shake your spine, it corrects in the process your spine, which can sometimes be difficult, again, depending how incorrect your spine is, but normally if you awaken Kundalini systematically a lot in the physical body, you sit with a broomstick from the here to here. There's just a constant broomstick over there, and you can see, it's very clear to see in our teachers, both in Greek and some of our other teachers, you see this constant line over there. Like that. You can never make their spine tired. It's this constant, and you can feel subtly this constant flow of energy over there. But like we mentioned, that energy needs in time to get more and more refined. So we awaken Kundalini on the physical level. Normally that's how it will start. It can also start from more refined planes. And then gradually Kundalini awakens on the energetic plane. And then energetically there is this ascension. And the body will still be erect, but you will feel extremely, extremely energized subtly. It's like your whole being is life in. You can feel energy currents all over the place. And then it rises even deeper. It awakens on the emotional level, on the mental levels, and then it can be almost unnoticeable at the physical level, and it's just the state of consciousness which rises. And when Kundalini awakens in those very fundamental levels, then indeed the level of consciousness rises very much. And we will see in a moment how to, or further on this lecture, how to make the energy refined. Kundalini itself is a feminine energy, it's a Shakti. Yeah, and this is why Kundalini is so embraced in Tantra, because Tantra is the path of feminine, the path of Shakti. And it is the path of life, and Kundalini is, you can say, the incarnation in this world of divine life. So divine life is Kundalini. Yeah? That one absolute perfection, if it comes to the manifestation in a human being, it comes as Kundalini. And it comes as a dormant potential. So this body, this mind, this energetical structure, this emotional structure can be made perfect. How can it be made perfect? By awakening that perfect feminine power of Kundalini. Kundalini being feminine, it longs for meeting the masculine. And it starts at the root chakra, at the beginning of the spine, in order to meet consciousness at the crown of the head, and the full rising of Kundalini is the mystical wedding. The mystical wedding happens inside, where our feminine power rises along the spine, reaches the top of the head, and there fuses and stay fused. Yeah, Kundalini, as the third tip, Kundalini is not a one-night stand. Yeah, people that like one-night stands, they take spirituality as such. First, I get a career done, vacation done, and now I get one-night stand with spirituality. What's this? Yeah, how do I? Okay, Kundalini. Yeah, okay. I put it full power 3 weeks. I awaken it once. My body shakes. I'm sweating. I get a bit afraid, and then quite ecstatic. That's it. Now I sit and write books, make YouTubes. I'm done. Yeah, Kundalini needs to stay up. It's a wedding. So the process of awakening Kundalini once, or having one state of cosmic consciousness, is not a wedding. It's not the state of perfection, but a taste of perfection, which is again wonderful, and most people don't reach that. It's already a very wonderful achievement. But in Tantra, like in Tantra, we aim to do things systematically. So the third advice here would be to awaken Kundalini systematically, to repeat the states, repeat the states, repeat the states, repeat the states, and eventually, as high as you can reach Kundalini with the highest intensity, you do it daily, you keep it there, also many hours in the day, you keep it up there. You can work and eat, do all sorts of things. You will see sometimes you eat a lot, when Kundalini awakens, sometimes you can't eat at all, depending on what stage it's in. The process of rising of Kundalini is not a sudden process and afterwards you go on pension, but rather a continuous, steady labor. To give an example of the awakening of Kundalini, we see here this nice Indian man. It looks like a nice Indian man, not necessarily like an enlightened master, perhaps because he doesn't have a beard. In any case, this man is Gopi Krishna. Gopi Krishna was working in some government office, and he was quite serious about his meditation. He was not having so much time, he had a family life, but he was quite serious about meditating every morning. And the important thing was that his heart was there. He was not so interested in career or in money. He was really interested in yoga, and he was really interested in growing spiritually, but he was somehow stuck. I mean, he couldn't devote his life to be, I don't know what, yogi in a cave or a monk, but his heart was there. And every morning he was doing his meditation, in which he was visualizing a lotus flower at the top of his head with a lot of light there. That's it. But he was super focused. He really trained his focus, and he could focus so much that he wouldn't feel anything but that lotus. He would lose the feeling of his body repeatedly, lose the feeling of his body, and just stay with this luminous lotus. And those of you who have practiced meditation systematically and have attained such states of concentration, this is extremely pleasant. You lose the feeling of the body, and you're just there alone with the radiant object of meditation, which is a pleasant one. I mean, floating lotus, luminous above the head, is a very nice thing to fuse with. So having these states repeatedly for a while, in one of the meditations, suddenly he feels something very intense along his spine, the tailbone. Yeah, the rising of Kundalini, even it's seated in the root chakra, normally you would feel it at the tailbone or at the sacral bone. That's where you would feel, and it's very intense. As soon as he would focus there, it would stop. And then he would return to the lotus and it would start again. After a few times, he realized he has to stay with the lotus and let that happen on its own. So he stayed with the lotus, and he felt this very intense push there from Kundalini, which was rising along the spine, until Kundalini enters through the occipital lobe, so through the back of the head, enters the brain. And when he entered the brain, he says, suddenly I felt a stream of liquid light entering my head through the spine. I felt a shaking movement, and then myself out of my body, totally absorbed in light. The point of consciousness, who I was expanding and growing with the waves of light. I was no longer myself. More precisely, I was not as I knew myself, as a point of consciousness limited to a body. Instead of this, I was a vast circle of consciousness in which the body was just a point. I was bathed in light, and the state of exhalation and happiness was indescribable. So when Kundalini, in his case, rose, for some reason, you will see in many ways he was not prepared, but at least for this first experience and the second experience that we had the day after, for some reason, he was simply open, and my feeling is that because he really wanted it and he really had spiritual aspiration, so he entered such marvelous states of consciousness, who again, they are accessible for anyone who will walk seriously the path of Kundalini for a few good years of practice. And Kundalini Awakening, because he didn't live a very pure lifestyle, pure diet, pure emotions, pure everything, it brought him to very intense agony for several years of real agony. And his book, Living with Kundalini, describes the whole story. Until he figured out Kundalini went on the wrong channel and the big train went on the small train line, and he couldn't sleep and he couldn't eat and he was depressed and nothing, he couldn't feel love, nothing. He would try to embrace his kids to see if he loves them and he couldn't feel anything. Just imagine the terror, how he would feel. It was really very bad until he finds some spiritual instructions and a guru and opens the right energy channels and eventually gets enlightened.
Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content on spirituality, Tantra and more.
And if you want to sign up for our online classes or for our retreats, you can see our website on the description below.